Hey, happy Wednesday. It is Dominic DeAngelo, dirt sheet writer of adfreeshows.com and scoops.com, and I am here with, you guessed it, Robert Karpeles, also known as WE Creative-ish on X, former WE writer. Robert, what a Wednesday we got cooking here, huh?
We got so much stuff to talk about here today. It's an exciting day. It's an exciting week to be here tuning in Rumor and Innuendo. We're so appreciative of all of you tuning in on our various social media platforms where we're streaming. You can catch us on YouTube on ad-free shows and on the Rumor and Innuendo YouTube page. Go subscribe there. We're also streaming on X, on Twitter, on whatever the hell it's called today, on WWE Creative _ISH, Dominic DeAngelo's Twitter. Mine. SE. I'm now owning SE Scoops. Screw it. Tell Mike I now own SE Scoops. We're streaming on SE
Breaking
Scoops.
news.
We're on Podcast Heat, who makes this show possible. And also, you can get us anywhere you listen to podcasts: Apple, Spotify. Those are the only two I can think of. But I think Google shut down, right? Google Podcast is gone.
I still use it. That's my primary podcast app of choice, but it is shutting down in April, so I got to migrate, if you will.
You guys, if you want to find us, you can find us. We're here. We're right here. I'm sitting in my kitchen today, broadcasting from a different location, a little bit of a different view. Dom wearing a Penguins hat, just rubbing the hockey stuff in my face. I'm trying very hard not to take it personally. But Dom, got a lot of stuff to talk about, man.
Oh, yeah. We're going to throw the gloves down, speaking of hockey, and talk a whole lot of variety of topics.
All things rumor and innuendo.
All things rumor and innuendo, yes. There's an interesting little tidbit about Vanilla Ice buying Eddie Guerrero's car. But we're also going to be talking about a certain tag team showed up on NXT last night. Bruce Prichard returning to Raw backstage. But we're going to kick it off with Elimination Chamber. And who happens to show up in Perth but The Undertaker? There was a video caught on social media of The Undertaker, Randy Orton, Triple H, Bobby Lashley, and a few more, I believe, showing up in Perth, Australia. Robert, where do you see The Undertaker fitting into the bill of the Elimination Chamber, this whole PLE event, making it feel special even more that the dead man is there?
Sitting in a suite and hopefully doing very, very little. To me, The Undertaker is retired. He's done. I get that you want to bring him into places. I know he was in Saudi Arabia he presented the soccer trophy, which if you're a soccer fan, huge deal. If you're not a soccer fan, there was a clip of him. People were celebrating. He's holding up a trophy. I watched Ted Lasso. That's about the extent you're getting from me. Maybe you want to give that entrance to the crowd in Perth because it would look cool. And you want to make this thing feel special for those folks that are there. But I think The Undertaker is an ambassador for the WWE. He is a recognized figure. The big mascot, the big recognized figure you would generally use in these sorts of situations would have been Vince. You know, you're in a new place. It's a new environment. You would have had Vince McMahon come out there. These are fans that have waited years, possibly decades, to see a major live WWE event. You want to make it feel special. And Undertaker has global cachet. The Saudi royal family valued The Undertaker. They wanted him there for events. They drew him kind of out of this quasi-retirement to have him wrestle before. So why not, use a little Undertaker magic for Chamber?
Yeah, it's kind of, we're typically used to seeing when the Undertaker would show up, like for these kind of events that, hey, or a legend just in general, it would just be, hey, let's introduce something. And maybe that's all it's going to be. But I'm pretty curious too, with the new regime of like Triple H kind of being the creative control and the aspect that, they involved him with the late Bray Wyatt that one time, brought him in for Braun Breaker on NXT and stuff like that, kind of gotten involved. Do you think there is a temptation to kind of get him intrigued into or involved with the Seth Cody angle, maybe mentioning The Rock? Would you do that too as a writer? Would you implement that and make it feel higher stakes to have The Undertaker say something?
I wouldn't, because I think in part The Undertaker, the aura, the mystique of him participating has been demystified a little bit. We see them promoting the One Dead Man show. He was the one guy who you didn't know anything about Undertaker. You
Right.
knew about all the other wrestlers. They were very candid behind the scenes. Taker, very protective of who his character was. You didn't get a lot of outside interviews with Taker. You didn't learn a lot about him. Now in 2024, he has a podcast. He has a one-man show. He's constantly posting Instagram and Twitter things, which is baffling. He was the one guy, Dom, when we were there, when I was there, when I was working there, you called him Undertaker.
Really?
We were told, like, guys will introduce however they are. That's generally what protocol was. If it's like Shawn Michaels, if he says, "Hey, I'm Shawn," you call him Shawn. If he says, "Hey, I'm Michael," you call him Michael. Stephanie was very clear on that with Hunter. She's like, in the office, he's Hunter. At home, he's Paul. So this new shift of calling him Paul Triple H Levesque goes against what we were sort of taught and ingrained. But Undertaker was always Undertaker. Even Vince would call him Taker. You wouldn't be like, "Hey, Mark." Like, it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
So to that end, if you're going to use Taker at all, you drop the lights, you do the entrance, he comes out to do the attendance announcement, and the crowd's happy. Like, that's all you need from him. Plugging him into a story, he's not going to be involved in physicality. I don't want to see Undertaker and Rock mix it up in any way, shape, or form. I don't want to see him trying to sway with Cody. Like, I don't want to see any of that nonsense. I just leave him where he is. It's WrestleMania 40. They're going to bring out a bunch of big legends at that point in time. I think Taker being the guy to announce, welcome to Perth, Australia. Here's our attendance figures. You guys have set a new non-rugby related record, and let the people go wild.
Yeah, it's so you don't even think a choke slam's going to go down. He won't choke slam Grace.
I don't see any physicality whatsoever with Taker, because what do you really get out of it? You're not going to get a match with him, and I think something that Hunter understands. I'm hoping legends for that kind of physicality. It only hurts the guy that they wind up working with.
Yeah. No, it's a fair point. So it'll be interesting to see how they utilize him especially at 5 a.m. in the morning for us. When we're tuning in. Holy cats.
Well, I'm glad they're there now. Like you said, Orton's there. Hunter posted a video from the stadium. Lashley's there. They need time to acclimate. They need time to get used to being in that environment and feeling themselves. So they got there yesterday. They got there on Tuesday our time, which I believe is next Sunday in Australia. And it was a joke, Dom. I think they're like 16, 18 hours apart, whatever it may be.
I like to believe it, though.
SmackDown already taped. Like, they're there. They care about quality of life for their talent, which is definitely one of those shifts that you're seeing in terms of how WWE is doing things.
Yeah, 100%. Kevin Owens happened to mention. Yeah, Kevin Owens happened to mention Elimination Chamber. He's going to be there, obviously, and he had some words to talk about it and hyped it up pretty darn good. He said it's in Perth. This was on a SmackDown Digital exclusive, by the way. He says it's in Perth. It's going to be front of thousands and thousands and thousands of people that have been waiting for a PLE in their city, in their country, on their continent for a very long time. It really does not get much bigger than this. WrestleMania is huge, but Elimination Chamber is going to give WrestleMania a run for its money as far as the sheer magnitude of the event and what it means to everybody. Chamber, bring it on. As risky as it is, as dangerous as it is, I'm all in. I'm going to give it everything I have. I'm going to leave it all in Perth. Pretty good hype stuff from Kevin. And do you think what he says will kind of resonate, that it does give WrestleMania a run for its money in certain ways?
It's going to be a spectacle. I think that's the takeaway. Obviously, he's trying to sell every show. Mania is Mania. Nothing's going to touch WrestleMania. WrestleMania it's the Super Bowl. It's the World Series. It's the Oscars. It's the single biggest night of the year. 2 nights of the year now, sorry. Elimination Chamber, we're seeing it when they go to France. We're seeing it when they go to Germany. We've seen it in Saudi Arabia. These international shows give you such a different vibe, a different feel. The Money in the Bank pay-per-view last year from London felt like a WrestleMania. Like that audience was rabid. They're passionate. They love what they're seeing. We kind of take it for granted. If you live here in the States, you get the WWE come hour, 2 hour drive at least once a year. So if you really want to see the WWE, you can show up. You can go and see an event. When you're in a foreign country, especially Australia, like unless they're flying over for Mania, you're not getting those guys in your backyard. You're not getting a chance to see those wrestlers up close and personal. So when you get that moment, that opportunity, they're going to be off the charts. So yeah, they're going to make this a big spectacle. It's in a huge stadium. The chamber itself is very impressive looking.
Yeah.
The concern that I have, the minor concern production-wise, is you don't want to make it seem dwarfed in that huge venue. So production team has a couple days to work that out, but you do a wide shot from the upper deck of the stadium, even the massive chamber is going to look small. So that'll be something they have to work out. Owens, very good at hyping it. Owens, also one of those guys, Dom, he doesn't have a clear path to Mania. So this is kind of his WrestleMania.
Right. Yeah. Who knows where that's going to lay out? Is he going to go up against Logan Paul? Is that something that can be kind of reheated up again? And, or where will he fall in? Like Sami Zayn, we talked about being possibly into the equation, maybe with Gunther or something too. So it's very interesting to see those two former tag team champions now and where they might be at WrestleMania a year removed from winning those belts. But something you don't want dwarfed, but you want more of a wide shot of is your performance in the bedroom, Robert, with Blue Chew. Please tell us about it.
Wow. Look at you, like the king of segue. So good at that segue, guys. I'm willing to ignore the fact that he used the word belt. But more importantly, guys, today's episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. Let's talk about sex. Remember the days when you were always ready to go? Now you can increase your performance and get that extra confidence in bed. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped directly to your door in a discreet package. And when it comes time for you to remove your belt, yes, Dom, this is the only time you can use the word belt. You want to make sure that you are ready to go. And that's why Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. Discover your options at bluechew.com. Chew it and do it. And we've got a special offer just for you, just for our viewers, just for our listeners, just for the Rumor and Innuendo universe. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code RUMOR at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's bluechew.com, promo code RUMOR to receive your first month free. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast and sponsoring the next time Dom takes off his belt.
Correct. Which might be tonight. Hey,
dear Lord, dude, this is a family show. Is it? I don't even know.
Is it? We don't cuss on here.
What kids are home from, like, not in school at noon? A lot of folks message me that this is what they're doing during their lunch hour. They're taking the time off. They're joining us. We thank you for joining. We thank you for being part of the chat, your comments. Little peek behind the curtain, to steal the word from our boy Conrad. Smaller curtain than what Conrad needs. We love you, Conrad. This episode, we're actually taping slightly before live, so that's why there are no live comments being thrown out there today. I'm sure some of our great fans like Mike Malaro and Johnny Disco are going, hey, where's the love? I'm not seeing it here today. We're taping slightly earlier, but same great quality. It's only about a half hour earlier. So unless something dramatic breaks in the next 30 minutes and you're going, hey, it's 12:05. Why are you guys not talking about X? Here's why. So we're being transparent. We're all about
transparent here.
There's no kayfabe going on here, Dom. But let's shift gears. What do we got next?
Yeah, I mean, hey, we're talking. This is Rumor and Innuendo. We're talking about the man that coined the phrase here. Coming up next, Bruce Prichard makes his return backstage. Reported by PW Insider at Raw, he was back at gorilla position after having a tricep surgery. So he's back in the mix here. Robert, what do you think of having Bruce back? And tell me a little bit too about your experience with Bruce Prichard backstage.
So first, it's I'm glad Bruce is back. I'm glad he's healed. He has gone situation going on with his triceps. He's logged it on Something to Wrestle, which is here as part of the ad-free shows world. But Bruce being backstage, he's a guy who keeps the trains on time. When you've been doing this as long as Bruce Prichard has, he understands the different elements you need to get TV ready to go. You're going to have a format. You're going to have your run sheet. You're going to have all your pre-tapes. Everything's going to be laid out. You're going to have someone who's making sure time cues are being hit, that there is a flow to the show. And we talked about it yesterday, how great the feel of Raw was. Raw felt like a big time show. I'm sure in large part because Bruce Prichard was there. I worked with Bruce and Bruce anecdote. When my very first day on the road, they said, you're gonna shadow Bruce. So, okay, great. Bruce brings me around, explains the rule. You got to go introduce yourself to everybody. Bruce starts introducing me as a contest winner. This here's Robert. He's a contest winner. He gets to follow me around for the day. And the first couple, I'm like, hi, nice to meet you. And then he was waiting to see what I was going to do. And then I went along with the bit. Yeah. And I started talking about how I wrote an essay about how Bruce Prichard changed my life. And this is my reward. So much so that when the next week when I was back and people are like, what are you still doing here? Like, they thought I did such a great job. Cena used to just call me contest winner.
Really? Oh, that's great.
So thank you, Bruce, for that. Had a long-standing relationship with Mr. Prichard. When I was at the Panthers, we brought him and Connie in for a live Something to Wrestle event. They made me look great. So always a big fan of utilizing Bruce. His podcast, guys, obviously, if you're listening to this, you're definitely a fan of that. It's the namesake of our show, Rumor and Innuendo. So glad to have Bruce back in the fold.
Well, Robert, so what you're telling me here is you're the original CW contest winner. CW.
I see what you're doing there. See what you're doing, man. But even though we're pre-taped and even though we got that, here's the thing, guys. We may not be live. We don't have that kind of runway. Dom's got to wrap this thing up. He's got to polish it up and get it uploaded, which is a major hassle, major issue. This is why, on top of being my co-host, he's a producer extraordinaire. You've got this. I saw the clip you posted from the RVD pod.
Yeah.
And Rob Van Dam is going to be wrestling, Dom, tonight.
The star of my show, One of a Kind with RVD, is going to be wrestling on AEW Dynamite tonight in triple tag action with somebody that Robert's familiar with too. Swerve Strickland, Samoa Joe, and Brian Cage are going to be taking on RVD. Hook, friend of RVD's, and the controversial Hangman Page at the moment. So pretty good main event. You're rubbing all those elbows here with some top guys, and then RVD's back in the mix too. The interesting note about this is it's been over 14 years since RVD last faced Samoa Joe, I believe, or first faced him. I don't know if they faced one another in between there, but and the tables have turned because RVD back then was the TNA champion. Samoa Joe was just a non-title match challenger for him, and Rob won that match. So it'll be pretty interesting main event that they have going here. Also on tap, Robert, Claudio and John Moxley, the Blackpool Combat Club, will be taking on FTR in tag action. And then all they have listed remaining, this is it, Robert, is Tony Storm in action, no opponent listed. Deonna Purrazzo in action, no opponent listed. But that's all they have promoted so far for tonight's episode, Robert. What do you think of that?
So this whole FTR Blackpool Combat Club thing confuses the hell out of me, just because you've been telling this story now for weeks on Dynamite, which, based on the ratings, is the show people watch. I get there's Collision, I get there's Rampage. Good for you. But most of the audience is watching Dynamite, and when they've seen Moxley and they've seen Claudio, They've been baby faces feuding with the outside interloping CMLL.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had them abruptly turn heel on FTR last week, and now you're setting up this match. It's a little bit of whiplash.
Yeah, it's very I don't know. It's how Blackpool Combat Club has been handled overall. Is just head scratching, I think, because like they cater to what the show needs at that moment to further a story or just that certain match. So it's like if they're necessarily to be heels, they can be heels. If they need to be baby faces, they're baby faces. And ultimately you have talents like Moxley and Danielson. Now Claudio can be a notorious heel, but those two guys, Danielson and Moxley, they're just so established that they're almost always baby faces, it seems, for better or for worse. And I do it. From last week's Dynamite, I actually enjoyed their match, the singles match between Mox and Dax.
It's one another. Match.
But yeah, hard hitting, very good way to open it. But I was kind of rooting for Moxley in that whole thing. So it's just like there's just an aspect of it that's just kind of, I don't know. It doesn't line up very well. Now, not to say they're not going to have a good match because all four guys are very talented. But yeah, I'm with you, Robert, where it's just like, what's going on here?
It's confusing what you're trying to do. I feel like they should be like the BSCC. They're the Big Show Combat Club because they keep turning heel and face on an almost constant basis that the audience just doesn't know who to sink their teeth into. Mm-hmm. Are we booing Blackpool Combat Club because they're dastardly heels? Are we celebrating them because they are baby faces? Are they, I hate the term tweener, but are they just like this, whoever we're facing, that's what we're going to be, which by default kind of makes you a baby face. But the abrupt attack after the match last week felt strange. Seeing this match here, it does feel like it's a matter of necessity. The main event 6-man tag is an odd hodgepodge. I get it. You're putting Swerve on the heel side. You're putting Hangman on the babyface side. My guess is because you're putting like Rob Van Dam in there, who the audience truly loves.
Mm-hmm.
It's somebody for Hangman to get in an argument with, shove, hit, whoever, and further the idea that Hangman Page is the heel in the situation without being a heel, hewing a little close to what we're doing with Drew McIntyre on Raw. But we'll see. Van Dam, he's still insanely good for his age, for the years and decades of experience that he has, but he's a fantastic mascot talent. And what I mean by that is you guys love, he's going to get a reaction. So anytime somebody does something to him, it has that much more meaning.
Yeah, he can, he's got the cachet and the talent to do what he's always been capable of. But on top of that, too, he's just got that attachment with fans that's so innate and so rare when it comes to a certain sort of one of a kind, if you will, when it comes to, making that connection with fans. So
good Lord, my eyes rolled in the back of my head when you said that. I lost the contact lens.
That's why I wore glasses today.
Yes.
All right. So we'll continue here real quick. I wanted to, before we close out, we have a couple more topics to cover. Josh Alexander, we wanted to talk about this yesterday, resigns with TNA. He had some quotes with the rebranding and return of those iconic letters, TNA, those letters that inspired me to get in the ring in the first place and chase this wild dream of being a wrestler. I've dreamt of that moment, being there at Hard to Kill, hearing those letters. Said Alexander, I got a lot of work to do this year. I have to find some success because I think more so than myself, the 15-year-old kid who was sitting on the couch never dreamt that it was possible, wouldn't believe that I could be TNA World Champion or TNA X Division Champion. Things that are still on my bucket list, but I know my son wants me to bring home some gold. So, Robert, what do you think of them re-signing Alexander? What value does he add to TNA?
So the story was out there, and if you kind of dig in a little bit, and maybe this is me putting lawyer hat on, they didn't really re-sign Josh Alexander. They extended an option to him for an additional year. And that basically means they have first right of refusal. Do we want to keep this guy for another year, or do we want to let him go and explore the open market? They've exercised that option. So it's not like Josh Alexander actively said, I want to come back for another year, sign me up. Obviously, they're going to have discussions. You don't want someone that's going to be a malcontent. He's making the right gestures, saying the right things of how excited he is. But I think he knows that in 2025, he's going to be a significant free agent. And he's somebody who's a great complementary piece for WWE, for AEW. I think he would do well in NXT, which is going to be on the CW. You've got other promotions that may want him floating around there, and TNA may want to re-sign him. They may have more solid footing in a year from now, and Josh Alexander prominently featured in there. He has been a real bright spot for Impact over the last few years. He's become a major star there in TNA. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen, but I think the story is less that Josh Alexander has re-signed and more the clock is on for where are we going to see Josh Alexander come February of 2025.
It's a great point. And he would fit beautifully in a lot of different areas, I think, in WWE. You know, you think about there's the Creed brothers, you think about Chad Gable being there, the possibilities that you could kind of do that and just have another established kind of quality wrestler that's there and furthering that talent and showcasing a lot of what those WWE superstars are capable of. All right. We'll get to this next topic maybe tomorrow, but I have to.
You steer the ship, dude. I go wherever you tell me to go. Oh, captain, my captain. I will stand up on the table and I will not stand up on the table.
Well, I think you're going to be like, wow, this was a valuable thing to talk about because it involves none other than mega superstar, pop superstar, Vanilla Ice and him buying Eddie Guerrero's lowrider.
What decade is this that you're like mega superstar, Vanilla Ice? Like you have
Death
the same
metal star, rap star. How can he not be, Robert?
You have the same cultural awareness as Vince McMahon at this point.
Oh, we got to get Vanilla Ice here.
God damn.
Damn, son.
Look at his hair.
So this was said on SEScoops.com. Vanilla Ice revealed in a video.
Oh, that's why you're saying this, because this is a little self-plug.
I did not.
I get it. I get it. It's a little.
You'll know. You'll obviously
self-love
in a little
and
bit.
Guys, if you need a little self-love, BlueChew.com promo code Rumor. I don't know.
I did not write this actually, Robert.
I have stepped on every word you have just said. I will let you talk now about this amazing. What did Vanilla Ice do?
No, Vanilla Ice. So he revealed in a video on his YouTube channel that he acquired the lowrider, Eddie Guerrero's lowrider, for $15,000 from someone who seemingly underestimated its value, unaware of its connection to Eddie Guerrero. Ice speculated that the seller may not have realized the potential six-figure worth of this car. He also mentioned that the seller had already invested $30,000 on improvements. In the video, Ice showcased the car, complete with custom Eddie Guerrero WWE Championship. Obviously, he knew the connection to the pro wrestling history. He wants to make sure that the lowrider is in good hands. Now, I did not write this on SE Scoops, just as a disclaimer, because this writer said that Vanilla Ice was a one-hit wonder, and I disagreed. You had Ice Ice Baby, but you also had the Ninja Rap from the Ninja Turtles.
That's exactly what I thought of. He is a two-hit wonder.
Two-hit wonder.
Also a home renovation design star. He had his own TV show doing that. I think he lives down here, not that far from me.
Neighbors. Robert is neighbors with Vanilla Ice.
I have not seen his lowrider pull by, but I think there's something really funny about the fact that he swooped in, got this deal. What a cool piece of wrestling memorabilia to have an Eddie Guerrero used lowrider. There were several. It wasn't like there was just one. It was depending on what city you were in, you would get them. So maybe this was the lowrider that was used for one of the shoots. I don't know, but good on Vanilla Ice. It's always nice to see just celebrities in general who are actual wrestling fans. For a while, we were kind of taken advantage of. Like you would get someone who clearly didn't like the product, didn't follow the product, didn't know the product, but they want to go and promote their show. Not that I'm thinking of anyone in particular, Jeremy Piven.
Summerfest.
Summer men. Like you can tell when they have no want or desire to be there. It's kind of why yesterday I was a little harsh on the UFC stuff, because I don't know how many of those guys are real fans or they view this as a joke and something that they just have to be a part of. But good on you, Vanilla Ice, for supporting WWE, and good on you guys for supporting us here at Rumor and Innuendo. Dom, we talked about your Rob Van Dam podcast. Where else can the fine folks find you?
Sure. Yeah. You can find me every Tuesday on Straight Talk with the Boss, Magnum TA, and Greg Gagne. We covered, it was, this past episode was pretty interesting because Greg Gagne sat through all of AEW Dynamite and gave his own review to it. So very interesting perspective and probably pretty darn sound perspective overall of how he views the product. I was nodding my head a lot of the times when it comes to that. But check that out. You can also, as you know, follow me on Rob Van Dam, One of a Kind with RVD. Every Monday at 4:20, it drops on rvdtv.com. So tune into that. And Robert, Wrestle Roast Man, what else have you got going on?
Yeah, you can hear my other podcast, Wrestle Roast, wherever you get your fine podcasts. You can follow me on Twitter at WWE_Creative_ISH. And you can find us here every day at noon Eastern, almost every day live. Today, weird anomaly, but we're here every Monday through Friday talking all the stories, breaking everything down. It's the fastest 30 minutes in all of pro wrestling. So on behalf of the incredibly fast Dominic DeAngelo, I'm Robert Karpeles. Best of luck in your future endeavors.